When it comes to getting gear in Wrath of the Lich King, there is so many options of places that you can go to get upgrades. So we're looking at the Tier 7 BIS for an Arcane Mage specifically today. This is going to include pre-raid gear, Naxx gear, VOA gear, Obsidian Sanctum, Eye of Eternity, all of those raids on 10 and 25 man, and if there's any useful crafted pieces as well. What this is going to show is every primary slot here is going to be your absolute BIS that you want to aim for in Phase 1 or Tier 7 of Wrath of the Lich King Classic. There are alternatives, and all of these have been run through raw, so they've all been simmed on a 3.3.5 working version of a sim. So for example, for the head, you would want this ideally, which is your Tier 7.5, which comes from a 25 man, but then there are numerous options from other 25 man raids, from 10 man raids, or even from crafting. And if you wonder what this tool is, it's going to be an app, so you're going to be able to use it on your phone, your tablet, whatever, but it's not just a BIS list tool. It's going to have raid comp calculators, which that's actually done. That's being built into it as we speak. Talent calculators for every class, raid boss guides, and even class guides with supporting videos and everything, all in one place and not riddled with ads. That's the point. But as I say, in the next couple of days, if you're a member of the channel, keep an eye out on the community posts, because I'm going to be looking and asking you guys that support the channel to test it for us. You know, try and break it, find things that are wrong, and then you can post it on my Discord and we can just make it better together. But ultimately, it's more than just this. But if you're asking, you know, in the comments now, typing out, where can I use this? You can't. As I say, members of the channel, you guys are going to be beta testing it. Everybody else, you just have to wait until it's a more refined product. But with that out of the way and cracking on, with the head slot, you're going to want your Tier 7.5 head. So this is going to come from Naxx 25 from Kel'Thuzad. And if we just quickly go over what the set bonuses give you, because you will be going for the 4 set. So for the 2 set, you gain 25% more mana when you use a mana gem. And in addition, using a mana gem grants you 225 spell power for 15 seconds. And I mean, that's beautiful. Getting a cooldown from your mana gem, which you normally use just to get mana back. Pretty strong. And for the 4 set, your offensive spells gain an additional 5% increased critical strike damage bonus. So ultimately, you're going to want this, but you can also, from 25 man EOE, get Hood of Rationality. So this is from Malygos. With a good amount of intellect, spirit, you're getting that meta socket that you need, and it's got crit and spell power. Another alternative is just from Naxx 10, which has got haste. It's got mana per 5 on, and we're not interested in the mana per 5, obviously. But it sims well because it's the haste and spell power. From OS 10, there's another option, the Enamored Cowl, which, again, intellect, spirit, crit, and spell power. And then for a crafted option, you could get the goggles. So if you are engineering the Visage Liquefaction goggles, but basically anything with a meta socket, a decent amount of spell power, and then crit or haste is going to be decent, but ultimately, you're wanting to go for your tier head. Obviously, you can also get the 10-man version of the tier head as well. You can include that if you like, but ultimately, any head will just tide you over until you get the 25-man. For the neck, Worm Rest Necklace of Power is going to be your absolute BIS. So this is from Sapphiron 25 in Naxx, but it actually drops a quest item from there to then go and kill Malygos. So only one person in Naxx can get this at a time, but ultimately it's BIS for most casters, most agility users. You know, a lot of competition is going to be getting the neck, and you can only get one a week. From Naxx 25, from Sapphiron, you can get a nice crit, haste, and spell power neck called Cosmic Lights. Another option would be the 10-man version of Worm Rest Necklace of Power. So this is exactly the same, but you'll loot Sapphiron 10-man, then go and kill Malygos if you obtain the item from Sapphiron, and you'll get Chain of the Ancient Worm, which has got a socket, spell power, haste, and hit. Or you've got the Titanium Spell Shock Necklace, which is made from jewel crafting. For the shoulders, you're going to want your tier 7.5, again, because we're going for these set bonuses, so very well itemized with crit, haste, and spell power. A secondary option would be the 10-man shoulders, because there's not that many options for shoulders anyway, and you are going to want that 4 set, so if you can't get the 25, obviously try and get hold of the 10. And then from 25-man Malygos, you can get some crit spell power shoulders. These are particularly nice because if you compare the amount of spell power you're going to get 98 on these. On the tier shoulders, you're only getting 78 and you are getting that socket. But the shoulders from EOE 25 actually are a lot higher eye level. They're 226 compared to 213 of your 25-man tier. So in terms of overall stats, they're really strong, but you do want your 4 set. There's a pre-raid set of shoulders here as well, but we don't really need to talk about these. We'll talk about them in the pre-raid section because any of these other shoulders you should be able to get. Pennant Cloak is going to be a very well sought after item by lots of people. It comes from Sarfarian on 25-man. with spell power, crit and haste and a blue socket. As I say, most spellcasters are going to want this because it is really nice, as you can see. 226 eye level, so it's the highest eye level of Cloak that you're actually going to be able to get until tier 8. So yeah, definitely try and get hold of this. Your second option would be from Mayexna, which is the final boss in the Arachnid Quarter in Nax 25, with Shroud of Luminosity, with crit haste and spell power. So very similar to the one that's going to be BIS for you, but obviously just a lower item level being 213. And there is actually a pre-raid option, which is 213 as well, with your Emblems of Valor. The Emblems of Valor cloak has got mana per 5 on, but because of the haste, decent amount of spell power, it still doesn't make it a bad option. Another item here from Sarfarian on 25 man with spell power, a lot of haste, and 2 sockets. So the Sanctum's Glowing Vestments. Now this is very nice, and assuming you've got the other 4 pieces of tier, this will be your best option. It's got a haste socket bonus as well, which is obviously very nice. But if you're missing one of the other pieces, then of course getting your tier chest would be another option. This will be your 25-man tier chest, and you can actually get this from VOA as well. You can get your 10-man chest from VOA as well, or obviously you can get both of these chests in Nax, with the Valorous one being 25-man Nax and the Heroes one being 10-man Nax. Or there is a 25-man EOE. It's not great. It's got mana per 5 on. It's not got no haste, but it's got a hell of a lot of spell power. So again, this is just another option thrown in if you've not managed to get any of the others, but you got plenty to go at there. I will just point out before we get any further as well, you can get tier chests and tier gloves from Emblems of Heroism. So these are the tokens that are going to drop from 5-man heroic bosses. They're the easier to obtain emblem. So if you need the 10-man tier version of the chest and gloves to finish any set bonuses or just to get them quick anyway, you can get both of these for heroism. For Emblems of Valor, you can get the tier 7.5 legs and shoulders. So I'm not going to keep repeating myself, obviously, on these slots. I thought I'd put it out there straight away that for Emblems of Valor, you can get a pair of legs or shoulders, and for Emblems of Heroism, you can get chest or gloves. So you can actually get a 4 set without ever looting it from a boss, which is quite nice. Obviously, it's going to take quite a while because they all cost a decent amount, like 60 or 75, depending on what piece you're buying, but still possible. Then from the wrist, from Sarfarian 25, you can get spell power, haste bracers. These are very nice with a red socket. These are 226 eye level, so again, these are the higher eye level that you can actually obtain in tier 7. There's a nice pre-raid option with Cuffs of the Shadow Ascendant. Again, they're simming really well because they've got haste on, spell power, they've got mana per 5, but you can ignore that. The fact is, though, these are BOE, so you don't actually need to worry about saving emblems to buy them. Someone on their alt that's not that bothered about gearing it or something like that will be selling these. You'll see people selling these in trade chat saying, want to sell 213 bracers, and then you'll tell them what armor type you want. So you want cloth, and then you can buy them from them. Another option is from Noth the Plaguebringer in Nax 25 with Bands of Impurity, so crit, spell power, and a nice red gem socket. Or there's a nice pre-raid option called Azure Cloth Bindings, so they're pre-raid because they're from Synagosa, which is the last boss in Violet Hold Heroic, with crit and spell power. But you can see they've got 59 spell power on compared to 64 and a gem socket that you can put more spell power in. So ultimately, of course, you want the 226 bracers from Obsidian Sanctum. For the gloves, you definitely want Valorous, so these are your tier 7.5 again from Nax 25. You can, of course, get these also from VOA, but they've got crit, hit, spell power, again, a nice red gem socket. Second best is just going to be getting your 10-man version, so again, from Arc of Honor in Nax itself. And then there's also a pre-raid option which comes from Karastraza, which is the Nexus Heroic final boss with crit, spell power, and a red gem socket. For your belt, Leash of Heedless Magic is going to be the best that you can get, being a 226 belt. So again, I keep saying it, the highest eye level that you're going to obtain in tier 7. Nice amount of haste, big amounts of spell power. Obviously, you'll be able to get a blacksmithing belt buckle to put in here for an extra gem socket as well. You can get a 25-man belt from Thaddeus with haste, hit, and spell power. Or there is a pre-raid option from Knights of the Eben Blade Exalted. So these are located over in Ice Crown. And if you're exalted with these, you can get a nice haste and spell power belt. For the legs, you guessed it, of course, you want your tier, and this is going to finish off if you've followed every single slot so far. Congratulations, you've now got your 4 set. And they've got a nice amount of haste, hit, and spell power on with 2 sockets. So simming-wise here, instead of this chest, if you was to be using your tier 7.5 chest, so you're going to have your 4 set without the legs, then Leggings of the Wanton Spellcaster are going to be next, with a huge amount of hit, a nice amount of haste, and lots of spell power, and these come from Malagos 25-man. Alternatively, if you still need the 4 set, then the legs that come from Nax or Arc of On, your 10-man version, are going to be the next best. For the boots, Arcanic Tramplers. Now, these are actually BOE, and I expect to see a lot of people hard reserving these in pugs because they're disgusting humans. But they are BIS for many casters, so I don't blame them. They're going to be able to sell them for a lot of gold. But yep, from Malagos 25-man, you can get these with a lot of haste, a lot of spirit, a lot of spell power. Just really, really nice boots. And again, they're 226 eye level. Your next best is going to be from Nax with hit, haste, and spell power. This comes from Lower Theb on 25-man. And then there is a pre-raid option if you're exalted with the Wormrest Accord, which is Sandals of the Crimson Fury. And these have got haste and spell power with a blue socket. When it comes to rings, Signet of Manifested Pain is going to be the first one you want, which comes from KT 25-man, so the final boss in Nax, giving you crit, haste, and spell power. Going to be a lot of contest over this, without a doubt. And the next one you're going to want is Signet of the Malevolent, which is only a 200 eye level, but it's got hit, haste, and spell power. And with this exact setup, you're going to want the hit. But not just that, obviously the haste is very valuable as well. But don't be put off by this and start trying to get something that's higher eye level, like even second best, which is Wormrest Band with haste, mana per 5 and spell power, or even Band of Channeled Magic, which is just haste and spell power, because you are going to want the hit. But Wormrest Band from OS 25, or Band of Channeled Magic, which is from Emblems of Valor, or even Ring of Decay and Beauty, which is from Sapphiron 25, these all can be an option, but ultimately you want Signet of Manifested Pain and Signet of the Malevolent. For the trinkets, this is quite a strange one because you're probably expecting Dying Curse to be in the primary slot, but no, Embrace of the Spider is going to be your BIS, which comes from Mayexna on 10-man. So it increases your spell power by 98, and your spells have a chance to increase your haste rating by 505 for 10 seconds on a 1.5 minute cooldown. And then in the second slot from Sarfarian on 25, you've got Illustration of the Dragon Soul, which is basically just a stack in 20 spell power buff, stacks 10 times, so it's 200 spell power once it's fully stacked up. Now, Dying Curse is very nice, but in this exact setup, with enchants and gems and stuff, you shouldn't need the hit rating from it. And whilst it's a big amount of spell power for 10 seconds, the haste is just simming out better. I would still pick up Dying Curse anyway. Embrace of the Spider and Dying Curse may be something that swaps round on this list over time, but currently, Embrace of the Spider definitely sims out better. Some other options are Sundial of the Exiled, which is a pre-raid item because it just requires Emblems of Heroism with a lot of crit, and your harmful spells have a chance of giving 590 spell power for 10 seconds. You can get exactly the same thing from Corran Diabrew if Brewfest is currently on. And there are pre-raid options from like Heroics and stuff like that, but we'll get onto that in the actual pre-raid gearing rather than Tier 7 BIS. And then for your main hand weapon, you're going to want Turning Tide, as is most casters. This comes from KT. It's going to have the most spell power on because it's the highest item level you can get in Tier 7. And it's got perfect stats, being crit, haste, and a lot of spell power. There's a decent 10-man version from KT with hit and spell power, and this is from KT on 10-man. Or there's a staff option from 10-man Malagos, which has got haste, hit, and a decent amount of spell power. But ultimately, you're going for the Turning Tide. And with the Turning Tide, you're going to want Surplus Limb, which comes from Patchwork with hit, haste, and spell power. Or from Instructor Resuvius, you've got Scepter of Murmuring Spirits. Not that great due to the mana per 5, obviously, and crit instead of haste, but still decent if you can't get Surplus Limb yet. Or finally, from Emblems of Heroism, you can pick up Handbook of Obscured Remedies with haste and spell power. I'd probably opt for the pre-raid one here, so get the one from Emblems first, because it's really cheap anyway, so make sure you get that first until you get Surplus Limb. Makes sense. And then finally, for your wand, you've got Gemmed Wand of the Nerubians, which comes from Anna Brecken on 25-man in Nax, so that's the first boss in the Arachnid Quarter with hit, haste, and spell power. Absolute perfect stats, definitely going to want this. From 10-man, you can get haste, spell power, and spirit on Wand of the Arc Lich, which comes from KT, so final boss in Nax 10. Or for a pre-raid option, you can get crit and spell power. This will probably be one that you see first because this just comes from Asjol Nerub Heroic. When I say heroic, I mean a 5-man, obviously. And that's it. That's the absolute BIS for an Arcane Mage. Thanks for watching. If you found it useful, like, subscribe, share it with your mages on your guild discords or anything like that. There's going to be loads more to come. And as I say, all of these, while I'm having to sim and look at sort of private server data and stuff like that, which we know sometimes it's not accurate, but this tool over time will always be accurate. So if one item's found to be stronger than another tomorrow, if the beta was out and it was found, tomorrow, it'll be changed that day. So this will constantly be being updated. But, as it stands at the moment, this is what you want in Tier 7 as a mage. If there's any changes, I'll let you know. Roll the outro.
There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes, everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos because you get a nice icon next to your name, and you get access to members-only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.